Hi everyone, it's Emmett from Little Big Bite, one of the developers behind Cup Encounter. In these dev vlogs, we plan on talking about some of the work that we have done over the previous week. A lot of the work this week has gone into trying to flesh out our game world and making it feel more alive. One of the first things we built out this week was the pedestrian and car system. While very simple, we feel like it added a lot more to the world rather than just being the cafe. We have plans to extend this further by introducing a few extra mechanics to the cars, such as taxis will actually stop and pick up pedestrians. With the pedestrian system, we will be adding a little bit more logic to them so they'll actually use things around the world as well, for example, sitting on a bench outside of the shop. While working on these systems, we realised after looking at some of the screenshots we took for our Steam page that there were some critical issues with our lighting system. Everything felt extremely flat because lights weren't really being cast properly. The first part of fixing this was setting the ambient light dynamically so it matched kind of the time of day that we were aiming for. We then quickly added spotlights to all of our street lamps so the street would actually properly light up. However, with just a lamp, the world still felt like it lacked any sort of depth and the lights didn't really stand out. Fixing this was actually very simple. All we did was create a cone mesh and apply a special shader to it so it kind of looked like they were volumetric, but they aren't. It made the lights really stand out at night, whereas before they got lost. To help with the atmospherics a bit more, we also added some dust particle effects to each light. After this, we then moved focus a little bit to help build out more of the world, and that was changing fundamentally how part of our game was going to look. The original concept was to have your player have a cafe that was down an alleyway, but this kind of ended up feeling not quite right and very claustrophobic for the player. Our solution was to then extend it significantly and build out a sort of courtyard which will allow us to also do extra things in the future. It also made a lot more sense as a lot of the systems we had building, such as the pedestrian and car system, weren't really that obvious unless you sat by the window looking out. But now it's more front and center and it helps build a much better looking world in our opinion. Another advantage of this change is that it enabled us to help build out the atmosphere of the world even further by introducing a proper weather system. This helps build out the world feel a lot better as you actually have a difference every day. It might rain, it might not, it might be cloudy, or it might be nice and sunny. The plan is to eventually make this actually affect the gameplay in some way, but for now it's purely aesthetic. A lot of work has also gone into trying to make our coffee grinder and coffee machines actually look like they belong in the world. Before this week, they really just kind of did things without any visual action of it or sound. We're pretty happy with the result that we have managed to achieve already, but we are always happy to hear some feedback on what could actually be improved. The final big thing that we worked on this week was dealing with some of the big problems with our original interface. It didn't really fit the vibe that we were aiming for and didn't really convey the information that we wanted to the end user. With Cup Encounter, we don't expect everyone to actually know what each coffee is. So the interface needed to convey to the user easily what they needed to do to create that order. We are pretty happy with the concept that we have now implemented, but if you have any feedback, please feel free to comment below. We'll show a bit more about how this interface works a bit more in the future. Of course, on top of this, we have always been continually trying to fix bugs and optimize performance. Now, if you found this interesting, please feel free to like and subscribe, and of course, wishlist our game on Steam. Be sure to check in next week to see what else we have been working on for Cup Encounter. Until next time, have a good one.